Sanju, I want to bring in Sushant also. I personally think, Sushant, that the group of commentators Dr. Chelani is talking about may be becoming less relevant every passing year. This is only, I was there when Modi went in 2014. It was all about his presence, the dynamics. First time Prime Minister goes to the US, earlier denied visa, now storming America. That was the theme then. But now, every single G7 summit, Sushant, India has been invited. Every country wants to join us on our bullish growth. The West also has got its own reality check. They said they will sanction India for Russian oil, and now the fact is that they are falling in line. So I'm just saying that does this group of people really matter as much, or is it their last-ditch attempt vis-a-vis Narendra Modi and India?
Arnab, like India, the Americans' system is also very raucous kind of a democracy. People are free to say what they want to say. But while I agree with this dichotomy, and it's very stark, it's unmissable, this dichotomy which Brahma Chelani is pointing out.
Yes.
But I suspect what is happening is that the establishments and the policymakers of both countries are far ahead of the curve than what these analysts and these commentators are. I think most of these analysts and commentators, are talking about something which the guys who are really going to be making policy, have gone beyond it. Mm-hmm. Are there any issues on these grounds between the two countries? Of course there are. So, for example, if something happens to an Indian citizen in the United States, don't we take it up with the US? We take it up at an official level. Similarly, the Americans have a certain thing that, they have to interfere. That is noise. When you close your ears to the noise and you look at what is actually happening on the ground between the two countries, then I think it's remarkable the amount of distance we have traveled. I think the last big thing which happened between India and the US was the nuclear deal, which was 2005. And I think it's 18 years since then. I think we are now going into this is the next point of change between how the two countries are going to relate to each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's a paradigm shift which is taking place. Let me give you a small example of what happens when leaders meet. And this is something which was told to me by a foreign service officer who's no longer alive. In 1980, when Mrs. Gandhi became the prime minister, she had gone to the United States, and Reagan was a right-wing Republican president of the US, very anti-communist. But Reagan had been told that Mrs. Gandhi, is pink, or she's a commie and stuff like that. When he met her and they both started talking to each other, later on, Reagan told one of his close associates that if this woman is a commie, then I am a Japanese. So what happens is that very often, when leaders meet with each other, many of these misperceptions and these canards and this calumny, which some of these media guys hurl, a lot of it gets dissipated the moment they come face to face with each other.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's important for leaders also to meet each other.
Yes.
But having said all of that, just one last point. For almost a year, we have been pilloried because we were buying Russian oil.
Yes.
Now, increasingly, you will see the same papers which were literally abusing us for busting sanctions, buying Russian oil, are now saying that, look, India did the world a favor by buying Russian oil, processing it, and then selling the refined products back to Europe and other countries which had sanctioned Russia. What we did was we stabilized the oil markets.
Yeah.
We ensured that the prices didn't go beyond, a certain point. In fact, at the time the war started with the Ukraine, it was projected that petrol prices or fuel or crude prices would probably touch $200 a barrel. Now they are less than $100 a barrel. And one of the reasons for that is the amount of oil that India is processing and then selling to the rest of the world.
Yes.
So in a sense, that entire logic, which was earlier being used to pillory us, has now been turned on its head. And people are saying that if the recession in Europe and the rest of the West is not as bad as it would have been, but for India buying Russian oil and doing the world a favor. So I think,
So I think
people can make
now-
as much
now
noise
I'll-
as they
now
want
I'll
to
go
make,
to the-
but the realities are very different.